Really gutsy performance and result. As a coach that's been doing this a while, there are moments that you're really proud of your group. I've had quite a few of those over the years, but this is one that definitely ranks up there. And the reason is just all the stuff that we've been dealing with. A lot of it's behind the scenes that no one knows about. And I won't go into all of it, but we've had a really tough couple weeks, and for our guys to kind of battle through that and to stick together and to be able to show up and have a performance like they had, really makes me proud, and it shows that we have that that mettle that I've been looking for, that mental toughness, that grit, and I thought the guys they gave everything today. I'm real proud of them.
Caleb, the first goal, it started with Artur battling along the end line there and playing through a couple defenders, and then you had guys jumping on the loose ball as it bounced around. It just seemed to epitomize kind of a tenacity that maybe was lacking in the last two games. Would you agree that level of intensity came back tonight?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, as I've said, we had a bad week, 2 bad results. The guys knew it. I knew it. I needed to be better. They needed to be better. And, the last 3 days were really long days, for my staff, for the guys. We're competitors, we're fighters. We have pride in what we do, and we don't like losing, and we don't like, we don't like being, second best, as simple as that sounds. And, but we didn't, like a lot of teams do in this situation, we didn't point fingers. We didn't make excuses. We just got to work, and we looked at ourselves. I looked at myself, looked at how I can be better. The guys looked at themselves and admitted that they could be better. And, that's a true culture, and we've been working hard to create that. And I think that was tested in the last 3 days. And I think we showed today that, we have a great culture here, and we have a great group of guys. It was one of our best, I think, certainly the first 30 minutes of the year. We were all over them. We should have scored 2 or 3 goals in that first half. We were aggressive. The guys were organized defensively, and they executed to a T. And we got good performances across the board, with some very good players out. And even in the game, losing Pedro, we had a couple homegrown kids in the game. Again, not go into it all, but we had a couple last-minute changes, lineup, different things we had to deal with for the last 2 weeks. But we again will never make excuses. We're just going to figure it out, and we're going to find a way to win. I thought the guys were great today in that regard.
Caleb, a lot of good vibes came out of tonight. A 10th win, a personal milestone for you, a chance to clinch a playoff spot. Does one stand over the other, or just all that good stuff that came out of this win?
Yeah, the most important thing is just that feeling I have for my guys. That's why I do this. The players, and the being in the trenches with them and going through kind of the journey, the ups, the downs, and to just see them, get what they deserve today, and they deserved it. They fought for it, and that's really what I'll remember today. Obviously, some other milestones for sure, but what I'll remember is, just the locker room and that moment, looking in their eyes, and feeling just real proud of them.
Would you mind discussing what 100 wins means to you, and just a quick glance over your career to get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, it was a couple games ago that I think Tim Miller, the director of media relations, mentioned to me that I was reaching that. I didn't even realize it. But obviously it means a lot to be in the league 7 years, to average, the wins that I've averaged. Obviously last year was was a tough year, toughest of my career. But I think, why you do this is for years like this year, and loving this team, enjoying every day, even the tough days and the tough moments. But yeah, it means a lot. I'll remember this one for sure. I'll also remember, as much as the 100 wins, I'll remember the losses as well. But hopefully there's a lot more wins this year and in future years.
Coach, as you've mentioned, the win tonight was a big one for several reasons, and also almost potentially sealing a playoff spot. So do you feel like you've kind of broken through that rough patch that you mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't get any rougher than what we dealt with in the last 2 weeks. Things not going our way, missing training sessions last minute, having some positive tests, having some false positives, losing guys, last minute to for different reasons, officiating calls that, that don't go our way. And like I said, it used to be a time where I dwell on those things and even, talk about them. And I learned that doesn't help, doesn't work. And those are all things that are part of the job. You just got to roll your sleeves up and go back to work and not let the frustration get to you and not let your team, dwell on those things as well. I thought actually the official today was the best official we've had all season long. Chilowitz was outstanding. I mean, so, as much as I sometimes point out some bad calls and some officials that struggle, I'd like to point out him today because I thought he was really, really good on the day.
Caleb, I know you said you won't go into everything that happened this past week, but could you expand on a little bit some of those behind the scenes things you mentioned, false positives, and wondering if any other major injuries occurred? Just what have the last few days been like?
Yeah, it's all none of it is important to talk about, but I think it's just the type of things that a lot of teams are dealing with injuries and with games every 3 days, with travel that's abnormal, with last minute, like I said, false positives, which means now that player has to not be in training. Even last week, the positives that we had on our staff, that meant now, okay, we have some contact trace staff that now can't be involved, even though they're negative. So all those things are difficult and they're last minute, and you never know what you're going to get every single day. And there were 3 training sessions over the last two weeks where we showed up to train and we weren't allowed to train for good reason. But that makes a difference. Those are things that, could rattle groups. You lose training time. You could get frustrated. And a lesser team would have thrown in the towel a little bit. And especially, with 4 games not winning, it's hard to keep your head screwed on right. But fortunately, the last 3 days, because of our culture, because of our experience in the group overall, we went to work. And we had a very steady hand. As a coaching staff, and we have a great group of guys that together we figured it out. And I credit my coaching staff. I credit the players today.
You talked about the first 30 minutes being some of the best that you'd seen all year. After the first goal, it appeared that the team, maybe not necessarily a letdown, but maybe lost some of that tenacity. Was that something that you kind of expected, how New York City has responded in the past, or is this a case of game states and sometimes you kind of have to manage, being pinned back a little bit? Could you talk a little bit about your team's response?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think you're spot on. It's a little bit them for sure. I mean, they're a good team, and they can carry games, and they have players that can and do push. And I thought we got pinned back a little bit too deep towards the end of the half. That was one of the points we made at halftime, is we need to stay in that middle block, engage them there, and not go from middle block to a low block, but go from a middle block to a high press. And I thought when we executed that, we were really, really dangerous in transition. And, I think it's really important that we maintain, I think, that control without the ball. And that was a big part of the plan. We've controlled a lot of games with the ball this year, but we realized as a staff in our analysis over the last 4 games that our best way with this group right now is to control games without the ball and be tough and compact and grind and be comfortable doing that. It's not what we really want to do every game, but I think with the group we have now, they really bought into that, and that was the right thing to do. But they had a push, and yeah, we didn't really back down. We bent a little. We didn't break. That's important. There's always going to be a push out of a good team. We saw that end of the half. We saw that end of the game. I thought the group psychologically managed the last 20 minutes extremely well. The subs helped. When we gave up the goal to go 2-1, I thought we just kind of, buckled down and didn't concede, and wasn't perfect, which you have to be comfortable sometimes just, buckling down and not conceding, which we did. But then I thought the subs came in. Eunice gave us a lift, for sure. Luis Diaz, and the third goal came, obviously off a counterattack. So it was a really good, I think, game for the guys, and the execution was spot on.
How great was it to see the team come out and get that first goal after everything you guys have been through? Pedro talked about it, just needing to score first, get on top of things first. So how exciting, relieving was that?
Yeah, that was massive, and we earned it. It wasn't against the run. We came out flying, aggressive. We're always at our best when we're aggressive and we're on the front foot, and yet we need to be organized. There have been a couple games that were aggressive, but we're too stretched out, and we're opening up space for teams in Cincinnati and Montreal. In those games, I thought there were times where we were aggressive but not organized. It's really important to find that balance. So we earned that goal. I thought we should have had a couple more. Really good chance, Ema in transition and behind. Sean Johnson made a great save on him. Giassi with the cross in behind for the header, 6 yards out. He made another good save there. He's a good goalkeeper. I thought he was their best player today. Otherwise, we would have had more goals.
Caleb, I don't know if you have an update on Pedro, but if you do, can you update us on that? And then if he has to miss time with Lucas still out, is Eunice the guy you go to like you did off the bench today, or do you look to change things in a different way if you're without your top 2 number 10s, so to speak?
Yeah, well, again, I think I mentioned this yesterday on the media call. We change our tactics a lot, but I've never believed you have to change your formation to change your tactics. I think sometimes when you change both, it's difficult for the players to shift gears. And so we change our tactics a ton. We pick different personnel. We pick different plans. We don't cookie cutter anything. We try to have a clear identity every game. We've had to adapt and a little bit change our plans more with the injuries we've had. So I think, the plan today was a good one. The players executed it well. It's never a good one unless the players execute it. So, and I think sometimes when you, as a coach, you learn that you think you have this great plan, and you tell yourself that, well, if the players don't execute it, it was a bad plan, and so I think when you get good execution, it was a good plan that fit the players. We picked the right personnel. So moving forward, we'll have to look at the group. We'll have to look at who's coming back in. We'll have to manage the health of the players. We've got, for the first time in a long time, a 4-day lead-in into the next match, which is great. We will be getting some players back. We don't know how much or how long they can play. Couldn't come at a better time. Pedro, I think, will be fine. I think he had just a little bit of a hip pointer. So nothing soft tissue-wise. And, yeah, we're hoping Darlington and Lucas, with a good full week of training, will at least factor in for some minutes, but we don't know for sure.